Oklahoma. Nice. Robin from Michigan. Welcome. Indiana, Maryland, California. Great stuff. Anyone just now joining in, share where you're from. I'm just curious as to where everybody's from. Yeah, Texas. Oh, it's Shannon. If it's the Shannon I'm thinking of, you do amazing stuff down there in Texas.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's me.
And then, so someone must be, if you're from Indiana but teaching Kentucky, you must be over in the Jeffersonville side. There you go. Cool. We'll get started here in like a minute. And so I was telling Gabe here with this presentation that I do, if you're new to EduProtocols, then this is great. I go over some basic protocols that you can run tomorrow. And then no, I'm not coming to, I don't think I'm coming to Kentucky. I don't even know what that acronym means. I don't think I'm coming to it though. But if you're like a, I don't know, fairly advanced protocol user, you've been dabbling with them, then I give some variations that you could try out. I give some new ideas. I also kind of piece together and show them how, show you how you could use, piece these together for a lesson. And when you start racking and stacking and piecing together some protocols, then that's when you're really up in your level in your classroom. And so I try to cover all different levels of users here. And so hopefully you can take something away. And as I put here, if you guys could mute, that would be fantastic. Thanks. But if, as you guys see here on my screen that I'm sharing, the goal for tonight is this, and it's the goal whenever I present, just take one thing and try it out tomorrow. And again, hopefully I can give you something new. I'm going to go ahead and get started. What I did here as I go through this, I'm going to run this like my classroom, like I would with my 8th grade students. Sorry. So just to give you guys a quick thing about me, my name's Adam Moeller. I teach 8th grade social studies at New Richmond Middle School. I am from New Richmond, Ohio. And I throw this on the slide here. I'm the Ohio Council Middle School Social Studies Teacher of the Year. And I'm the 2023 Ohio District 5 Teacher of the Year as well. And then I like to share out here John Crippo, Marlena Hebern. If you are not on Twitter, I highly recommend Twitter. And I highly recommend that you follow John, Marlena if you don't. And my co-author, Scott Petrie, with the EduProtocol Field Guide Social Studies Edition. I recommend that you follow him as well. But what I'm going to do tonight is run you guys through how I would a lesson in my classroom. And I was telling Gabe that if I ran a typical lesson that I do in class, I'm assuming most people here are social studies, or you're probably familiar with most social studies. You guys would just knock it out of the park. And so I want you guys to feel like students in my class. So what I'm going to do is teach you guys about New Richmond, Ohio, which is where I'm from. I teach there. I graduated from there, and it's a small town that has a super unique history, and I just like to share it because it's a cool place. So what I'd like to start off with is this, a thin slide. I didn't know how many people we would have, and right now we're up to 27. So if you guys could just type in this bit.ly link, just as is, and it's case sensitive, so it's all lowercase. So just bit.ly/thin slide NR. And what I'm going to ask you guys to do is find the most interesting fact about New Richmond, Ohio. And the slide should look like this as people start to sign on. And so this is a thin slide, and I'm just claim a slide, find a blank slide somewhere. And what I do with my students is I give them 3 minutes and find one picture, one word or phrase. What is the most interesting fact that you can find about New Richmond, Ohio? And I'll go back to the bit.ly link here, and I'll put it on the slide itself. All right. So visit that bit.ly link. I'm actually timing this right now on my phone, 3 minutes to find one picture and one word or phrase about New Richmond, Ohio. So timing it. Oh, yeah, I can put the bit.ly in the chat. Sorry. It's actually a good idea. There we go. And then, so the bit.ly link for the thin slide is right there. Or it's here. There you go. All right. And so what I do as the students are doing this, and like I said, I time this 3 minutes. And I put it in this grid view right here, and I can see everybody and scroll through it. And I can give feedback and all this other stuff. But I get a good idea of who is doing what, who's finding what, or are we in the right location? Are we not? So we have population size going on. We have someone found it's an underground railroad site, home of the cardboard boat museum. It's someone put here on the top slide, a hotbed for underground railroad activity. And so we start to see these common themes come up here. Someone found a picture of Front Street. That's a sweet picture, by the way, there on slide 18. With musical events at the bandstand. Someone found our bandstand there. But if anyone's just joining us, the bit.ly link is in the chat, and we're finding the most interesting fact about New Richmond, Ohio, which is where I'm from and where I teach. There are 40 seconds left according to my timer. See here. Oh, someone found the New Richmond alpaca farm. Oh man, whoever's on Curtis on slide 7. That's a sweet find. That might be the most interesting fact that anyone has ever shared about New Richmond. There you go. All right. And here's the center of the abolitionist movement. Someone found the founding of New Richmond sign. So there are 2 seconds, 1. And so then, like I would in my class, that's my timer. Like I would in my class, I just shut it down. And I'm going to make it so that it's view only. And if you didn't finish, it's totally fine. But now what we have is this crowdsourced information about New Richmond, Ohio. You guys, it was in your hands to find it. And this is a great way to introduce a lesson. And so the next thing I would do, but I'm not going to do it tonight. Next thing I would do in my class is I would put up the slide and I would say, all right, Robin, present your slide in 5 to 8 seconds. And then I go to the next one. All right, Kira, present your slide in 5 to 8 seconds. And now all the students are talking. And so I'm going to go back to my slide actually. And this is known as a thin slide. And here's the recipe card. It's one word or phrase. one image, one slide, and you have 3 minutes to build. And this is one of the simplest things you can do. And this is one of the first protocols that I began with. And so this is great for exit tickets, vocabulary words, introducing a lesson or a unit to build writing skills, making observations, claims, things like that. And so I'm going to just share some examples that I have put together. And, like you guys have these awesome examples on here so far as we just went through on stuff about New Richmond. So now you're like starting to build your knowledge about New Richmond, Ohio a little bit. And so this next slide here, this is one I started off my Andrew Jackson unit. And I kind of did something similar. And I told the kids, I said, hey, find something interesting about Andrew Jackson. And I should have known better because I got the $20 bill thing over and over again. And I'm like, no, I'm tired of the $20 bill thing. I said, whoever can find me the most interesting fact about Andrew Jackson will win a prize out of my, I have this thing called an unimpressive prize box. And I just put random stuff in there, like pencils I find, stuff like that. And I told him, whoever finds the most interesting fact gets a pick out of the unimpressive prize box. And so I started getting more stuff like he's a self-taught military leader. He's killed a man. He fought in over 100 duels, some people think. And now I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. We're getting some interesting stuff. But this thin slide is a great way to begin a lesson. Here's a friend of mine, Ben Harrington, out of Ohio. He did this as a metacognitive strategy at the end of the week when he was teaching about the Bill of Rights. And he had his students, what's your biggest takeaway from what you've learned this week? And so they did one picture, one word or phrase, and he used it as an end of the week metacognition strategy. I did one for building some writing skills. We studied the Declaration of Independence, and I asked the students, I go, what is the meaning of the Declaration of Independence to you based on what we've learned? And one student said hope, and they included their picture. And then I took it a step further. I said, now I want you to use your one word and write a claim. Why did you say hope? Use a claim, write a claim, back it up with some evidence and reasoning, and share what you learned. Another student said inspire. And then again, they used it within a claim. And then sometimes I offer these sentence starters here. It's just something good if you're building some writing skills with students. And then this is one that my friend Ariana Hernandez does. She's out of California. It's called the Thin Slide Study Guide. And so the students claim a slide like you guys did. This is great for vocabulary. A student adds a definition and then copy and paste the definition, but then they have to put it in their own words. And then they add a picture. And after 3-4 minutes, you switch to a new slide and you add more to it. Change the definition. Maybe they left something out of their definition. Add a new picture. And then after 3 or 4 minutes, you change to a new slide. And this is a great way to build some vocabulary skills, some collaboration skills, and things like that. So hopefully just from this first little intro right here, again, a thin slide is super simple to do. But even if a kid asks a question in your class and you don't have the answer to it, then just you can create a thin slide real quick with Google Slides. And like I'll show you how quick it is here. I do this a lot. I'll type in slide.new and it makes a brand new presentation. I didn't know if anybody knew that or not. I just like to share random tech tips along the way. You could type in slide.new, make a brand new slide deck, share it out with your kids right away, and boom, have them looking up answers to those questions that they might ask. So if anyone's new to EduProtocols, you might ask yourself, like, what is this? What the heck am I learning about right now? And so the EduProtocols are simply this. They're just lesson frames that bring existing curriculum to life. And it's, as we try to tell people, it's not a curriculum, it's a pedagogy. It's a style of teaching that you run in your class. Keep your curriculum and structure, keep your textbook, follow your textbook, but take these protocols, these lesson frameworks, and build them into your work, build them into your textbook. I follow my textbook 60 to 70% of the time, and I just piece protocols around it. And here's another way to think of these protocols. The thin slide that we just did, I used to do KWL charts in my class like 6-7 years ago. I would hardly get anything out of them. And in fact, I'd get a stack of papers piled up on my desk. I'm like, I'm not going to look at those. And so I'd rather give feedback in the moment to students rather than I'm going to look at your KWL chart. Well, I'm really not going to look at it and then not give feedback. So the thin slide is, to me, the new KWL chart. I'll share another protocol with you guys. It's similar to a think, pair, share. It's called a cyber sandwich, and I'll share that at the end. But essentially, though, here's what we did. This is our, I should say, here's our typical model of instruction. We usually start with direct instruction, and then we give students work, and then the feedback comes later, just like that KWL chart example I just used. Maybe there's some direct instruction. The work is the KWL chart. The feedback might come later, maybe not. But here's what we propose in the protocol world. Give students work right off the bat. Let them kind of grapple with it. Like the thin slide I gave to you. I said, find something interesting about New Richmond, Ohio. And you guys got right after it and started looking stuff up. You were engaged right off the bat in finding something. And then I'm giving feedback in the process. I'm adding in direct instruction where I need to. And then we just continue with more work and reps. And so this is what this is how I should say, flip my classroom completely on its head and started changing what I do. I give the students work to do first, feedback in the moment. And I'll tell you what, that feedback is so powerful in the moment. I've watched my kids, and I'll share an example with you guys later with this. I've watched my kids' writing skills. I focus on writing nonstop in my class. And my goal is to teach my kids how to write a paragraph. That's all I want. Let's just write a really good, solid paragraph. And that feedback in the moment is so powerful, and it's been awesome this year, helping these kids learn how to write and learn social studies. But at the same time, everything that I do is built around the 4 C's: creating, critically thinking, communicating, collaborating. And whenever I plan a lesson, I am asking myself, am I hitting these 4 C's? Am I making my students create? Am I having them critically think? Are they communicating with each other? Are they working with each other? If I can hit 3 or more, I'm good to go. Now, if you're going to start a thin slide tomorrow or any of these other protocols tomorrow and you've never done it before, I would highly recommend doing it in low cognitive loads. So when I introduced a thin slide this year, I had my students do, what's your favorite food? And then the next day, what's a food that nobody should eat? And then the next day is just a quick thin slide of what's your dream vacation or something. And then we can get into coursework. So I highly recommend starting with a low cognitive load, something fun, something they can relate to, and then you build up to your coursework and introduce them one at a time if you have to. And that's how I started out like five years ago or so. And here's the other thing that I do. As you noticed there with that thin slide, I timed it for 3 minutes. I time everything in my classroom. I always have a timer up. Kids know it. They're used to it. At first, they were like, obviously timers make kids nervous, but they don't even think about it anymore. It's just a part of what we do. And the idea here is Parkinson's law, that work fits the time allotted. And so more time you give kids, the less effort they are probably going to give to you. Like, oh, if I have a half hour to do this, I'm probably going to do it all in the last 10 minutes. So I for a cyber sandwich that I share later, I do a 10-minute read and note take. Now we're down to about 8 minutes. I do about a 5-minute discussion. And then our 10-minute paragraph that we started with, we're down to like 6 or 7 minutes cranking paragraphs out. So I adjust the time as we get used to stuff. And so the next thing that we're going to do now, we're going to build on this a little bit. I'm going to have you guys do what's called a fast and curious. This is another simple protocol that you can introduce into your class tomorrow. I think too often we use GimKit or Quizzes or BlueKit as these test review tools. I see them as learning tools. I see them as worksheet replacing tools, and we are going to do them over and over and over again until we get a good class average by the end of the week. And so I'm going to share this with everybody. Hop in, go to gimkit.com/join. And so I'm going to run this GimKit for 3 minutes, and it's 10 questions, and it's all about New Richmond, Ohio. Yeah, someone said they love doing the fast and curious as a bell ringer. It's a great way to start off class. Kids know it, they get in a routine, they get after it. So it's a great protocol. And when I first introduced the fast and curious to my kids this year, I did it. We run a PBIS program, so I did it with school rules and the PBIS program. And I threw in some questions about myself just to introduce them to the idea of taking the same quiz over and over and over again, because we have gotten them used to the idea of, oh, I'm going to take this once or twice and that's it. So let's see here. See here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and run this again. It's going to run for 3 minutes. There you go. Now, what I like about GimKit here as you guys are taking this, what I love about GimKit is it cycles through the same questions again. And it gives students practice, repetition with the questions. And now, granted, you have to coach them, teach them that, hey, you have to read the questions, not take advantage of it. But it's you get them doing it enough, they'll get used to it. And then I'll share some variations here that you can use in your class after we're done. We're at -$. Right now. I knew this New Richmond, Ohio thing would work. Someone asked me which GimKit game did I use. I just used the regular version. I'll say this: there are not many things that I pay for out of pocket for my classroom, unless I feel it's life-changing and absolutely necessary. And GimKit is something that I pay for. I also pay for Mote, which is a great audio feedback tool. I also pay for Screencastify, which is a great screen recording tool, and I pay for Quizzes as well. So those are my go-to recommendations. And yes, they love to see their progress. Amanda said they love to see their progress and compete against the other classes. That's a big time thing in my class. And you'll see that as well. This is a confidence builder. Students see themselves getting better. And that's what I love about this the most is they when they're done and they see that they're learning, they see they're getting better, they see that they're answering the questions and learning. That's a huge confidence boost to them and us as well, because that's what we want to see. So there's 20 seconds left. Yeah, so Gabe said the unimpressive prize box. I stole that idea from my friend Jacob Carr. I love the unimpressive prize box idea. So that's a good go-to. All right, 1 second. All right. Who won? All right. Robin, nice job. And then what I do is I view the report. I show the students. I'm like, all right, cool. Here are the most commonly missed questions. And I use this for data. I go and look at this, and I might create a protocol that plays off the vocabulary or the question or something for the next day. So, but I go through right away. I give feedback on the top 3 most missed questions. And then I'll either play it again right away, or I'll jump into my lesson for the day and then in class with this GIM kit again. And so our class average was at 57%. And so what I'm going to do is then jump into that lesson for the day, and then we're going to actually do this GIM kit one more time. I'm going to get it ready actually, and I'll hit play live. But I'm going to give you guys less time, and we're not going to do it right now, but we'll do it at the end. But what I do is I give the kids less time, and they always answer more questions. They always get a higher class average with that less amount of time. But this is the whole idea behind the fast and curious, or really a lot of these protocols. It's called the curve of forgetting, or the Ebbinghaus effect. The more times you do something, the more you're probably going to remember it. And so with a lot of the protocols or fast and curious, we're not going to do it once or twice. We're going to do it 3-4 times, especially fast and curious during the week. Maybe that thin slide, we might do it 3-4 times during the week. And the kids are retaining that knowledge as we go through the school year. It's interesting. I just did a retrieval practice board with information that we have learned since the beginning of the year. I told the kids to close their Chromebooks, and they just had to think of it either through discussion with a partner or from their memory. And the first 5 minutes was pretty rough, but the stuff started coming back to them. It was pretty impressive, some of the stuff that they were kind of pulling out of their minds and remembering. And so I give credit to the fast and curious for that actually. So, but this is the recipe card for the fast and curious. It's 1 quick rep, immediate feedback on the top 3 missed questions, and then you can either do your lesson for the day and then or do 1 more rep before the end of that class period. So what does that look like? So this is my 5th period class. This was on the Enlightenment. And this is what I love about protocols. They're so visual. This is from Quizzes. I like the visual of Quizzes. They got a 54% class average on Enlightenment related topics such as natural rights, social contract, republicanism, things like that. We did our lesson for the day. We ended class, and this is what we ended with, a 92% class average with my 5th period. And it's made up of, off the top of my head, like 27% IEP students on an IEP. And so they knocked it out of the park. But I'm not going to stop at doing this twice. When they come in the next day, we're going to do it again. And then when they come in the day after that, we're going to do it again. And so that's the fast and curious protocol. Super simple to implement and do, and definitely can implement this the next day. And so here's some tips for you. Don't wait on the students to sign in. Like as soon as the bell rings in my class and I have 1 or 2 students signed in, I just hit the go button on GimKit. And it's kind of fun to watch the students scramble and be like, whoa, hey, what, hey, you need to wait. I'm like, sorry, I'm not gonna wait. I'm not going to wait. And so, and then keep your amount of questions between 10 to 20. If you anything more, it just becomes way too much. So you want to try to choose your top content related questions or vocab related questions. Keep it between 10 to 20. And what I always say too is don't choose the low hanging fruit type of things. Choose the more rigorous questions to include in your fast and curious. But run your GIMP kit and these are variations right here, I should say, different variations you can do. So if you're like a fast and curious veteran, here's some different things you can try with your class if you haven't done these already. Run GIMP kit for 4 to 5 minutes. Go over your 3 most commonly missed questions, but run it again with less time. Challenge your students to do more questions and get a better class average. And almost every time they're like, well, we can't do that. There's less time. Well, they almost every time, 95% of the time, will always answer more questions. Another thing that I had my students do, I had half the class close their Chromebooks. And then I had them, so we had half the amount of Chromebooks open. I gave less time and they still answered more questions and got a better class average. So that was cool for them to see that. One class actually didn't answer more questions and they wanted to do it again. They were begging me to do it again. And so we did it again. And so you got to get into their heads a little bit and get them excited about the content with these just like little changes here and there. Another variation, you can run 2 levels of GIMP kit, Blue Kit or Quiz. You could have a code up for harder, higher level questions. You can have a code up for basic, lower level questions. Now you're differentiating within class. And that's just something super simple that you could do, and give kids an option if you want on the fast and curious. So check questions here real quick. All right. So ELL population, is GIMP kit and Blue Kit translate into Spanish? Yeah, that's a good question. I know GIMP kit on the regular version that we did, it reads it to students. So you might have to translate it and put it in there, and then it'll read it to the students. But another thing, if anyone's familiar with ChatGPT, which I think most of us are, you could have ChatGPT create questions or translate questions into Spanish, possibly, or other languages, and put that in there as well. Oh, yeah. So someone said, I didn't know I read it to students. If you're in the regular mode on GIMP kit, the one that we just played, it'll read it to students. If you're on any other mode, it won't do it. So you have to do the regular mode for it to read to students. I think it's the immersive reader is what it's called. Here's the next thing that we're going to do. And again, I'm running this like my classroom. So we just did a thin slide, learning a little bit about New Richmond. We just answered some questions about New Richmond to give you an idea of what we're going to be learning about. Now we're going to take it a step further. We're going to do a sketch and tell. And so sketch and tell is one source. So I'll give the students a reading. I'll give the students a video, something. They grab one slide. They explain with the drawing, and they explain by writing. And this is great for vocabulary. I just work with a teacher in my building, and the 6th graders we're doing vocabulary today with a sketch and tell. They actually requested it because they love sketch and tell so much. And they haven't done one in a while, and they were like, can we just do a sketch and tell again? We love those. And so we did a sketch and tell. You can use sketch and tell for notes or just some reading comprehension. You can drop the crappy comprehension questions out of a textbook and have students do it with a sketch and tell. But here's the idea behind the sketch and tell. Oh, I got to say this too. No screenshots or images. And we're going to be using Google Shapes. But here's the theory behind sketch and tell, the dual coding theory, the idea that you can apply pictures to words to build knowledge, to retain knowledge in your long-term memory. And so that's the idea here. So here's what we're going to do. My question is this: what made New Richmond an important and unique place in American history? And we have 38 people here. And so all of you can just go to this first bit.ly link, and I'll copy the link. I'll put it in the chat. And there's that. So I'll share that with you. The bit.ly link is in the chat. So open up the sketch and tell. And just like we did before, claim a slide. I have an example. And notice I did Google Shapes. I encourage the students to do Google Shapes first. Think about the answer to the question in terms of a picture and create it with Google Shapes, and then tell about it. And so I have here New Richmond's location next to the Ohio River allow the town to become a successful place with steamboat manufacturing. Furthermore, its location next to the Ohio River allowed it to be a major spot for the Underground Railroad. So claim a slide, and you'll notice on each slide is a link to an article. And so your response, your answer is going to come from that article. And so you would just open it up and just quickly read through it, pick out something and sketch it out. And so I don't know, we'll go, I don't know, I'll set my timer for 8 minutes on this one. All right. And if anyone has questions as we're doing this, feel free to put them in the chat. And yeah, Quiz will read your questions too. So thanks for sharing that, Amanda. Let's see here.
There were a couple questions about IEPs
Mhm.
and EB, and you addressed the EB with like quizzes reading to you. But any other strategies, for example, like a campus I visited today, they do the language center, like out of 30 kids in that particular class, all of them are language center, like level 1, level 2 on English.
So like, I guess this is my challenge. This is what's weird about my district is like my district has 0 ELL students. And it's just it's not, I'll say that it's not a very diverse place. And but you know, like, I don't know. Ask that question again, Gabe. What was that question again? Sorry, rephrase it or
Well, like what kind of scaffolds would you have for someone with like an IEP or just IEP or any kind of other things? Like here's another one. May give a fast and curious IEP vocabulary list if they need like the game aspect.
Mhm.
So word banks and whatever else you could recommend for someone who needs a scaffold. That's
Yeah.
what I was
So yeah.
gathering.
So definitely a vocabulary list is great. What I have found with students, especially with GIMP and stuff, like if there's a language barrier there, and obviously, and we have some ELL students, then obviously, there's you could take an answer choice away. You could create those different levels of GIMP and blue kits, as I mentioned earlier. So you can have a higher level and a lower level up on the board at the same time. You could what I have found with the GIM kits and things, like the more we do them, the repetition piece with it, students will rise to the challenge, rise to the occasion. And sometimes those students that you don't expect to come out on top sometimes do. And that's the exciting part with doing like a GIM kit sometimes. And then see here, and like obviously you could use, like I use ChatGPT quite a lot. You can use it to translate things and put it into GimKit or quizzes or a BlueKit, things like that. I mean, hopefully that helps. I'm usually walking, like how someone mentioned, I'm usually walking around the classroom and I'm helping students. That's what I love about protocols is I have conversations with my students. I'm asking them questions and giving them feedback. I'm helping them out. And so and it, I don't know, like, and it's funny, like when I got my start in education as a special education teacher, and I taught special ed for 3 years and switched over to social studies. So, and quite honestly, like I don't I run the same stuff over and over again in my class that rarely, if any, I don't. The only thing that I will say this: I don't modify stuff. I rarely do that. And if I do give a something out, if I do modify, actually, it's with a reading. And I'll have ChatGPT change a reading to a 5th grade level. I'll have it change a reading to a 3rd grade level because I have different levels of reading students in my classes. And that's really the extent of it. But that repetition over and over again, students are getting used to it. And the feedback I give to them, they know I got them, and I'm going to help them out. And so that's the cool piece with protocols. So hopefully that helps. All right. Oh, someone asked, I don't understand how to do the drawing. So I could do like a quick like demo on the screen. So the drawing itself is let me see, I can find a slide. Oh man, we got some cool stuff going on. I haven't even been paying attention. So the Google shape icon is right here, has a circle and a square on the toolbar. And so you can use different shapes. And I don't know, like I know New Richmond used to have a bunch of factories. So like I might draw this square right here. And then I don't want it to be gray, so I might just change the color to brown or something. But then this is the cool thing. This is what I show students that it can be life-changing. I hit Control D and I can duplicate these shapes over and over again. And that's how my students can make different pictures super quick. And so I'm going to change the size of this to be like a smokestack. And so now I have that. And now I can duplicate that. And now I can duplicate that again. And there's that. And there's that. And if I wanted to add like a little window, I could. And so it's kind of looking like a castle now. I don't know why I did that, but that's okay. And then I can change that and I can duplicate it. And that's how you can use the shapes. So the shape tool is right up there. There's many shapes you can work with, things like that. And then Control D or Command D, if you're on an Apple MacBook, is a life changer and allows you to duplicate shapes and make drawings pretty quick. All right. And so most of you guys are getting your drawings, you're starting to get your explanations down. And so we can go through and I can, I don't know, I can just share some of these here. So it's part of the Underground Railroad, and that's a cool picture there. That's the birthplace of Ulysses S. Grant. So he was born a couple miles up the street from my school. It's like someone did I guess it's a steamboat. So big time steamboat place being on the river. And so like, this is what we do, students are creating, they're writing stuff, and now we can go through and share and talk about it. And each person like here in this session tonight, and each person in my class, each student in my class, you guys are taking something different away that we all could share. And what I usually have my students do is kind of turn and share. What did you learn? What'd you learn? Explain your picture, explain what you wrote. And this is just a sketch and tell. Someone brought up that Harriet Beecher Stowe's brother was a preacher at a church in New Richmond. Someone said it's a village along the river, manufacturing industries, steamboats. I don't know if anyone brought up John. Oh yeah, someone did bring up John Rankin. So there's a chapter in Uncle Tom's Cabin about Eliza crossing the river with her child cutting her foot. That is based on a writing that John Rankin did. It's something that he saw with his eyes, a lady crossing the Ohio River with her child to escape slave catchers. And so John Rankin is from New Richmond. He was a minister in New Richmond for some time as well. So, but yeah, there's lots of cool things, as you guys see. If you guys didn't get a chance to write, totally okay. I'll check out the chat here again. Someone said, I'm learning I need to do a better job having kids share their stuff with everyone. And my class is one big collaboration fest. Kids are always talking. We're always sharing with each other. I just think that's so important to have kids share what they're learning. Someone else said, I did Fast and Curious with all my classes. I don't change a thing. First few IP, kids get a low score. Yeah, it's just, it'll work itself out through time. Yes, I will have a copy of this presentation at the end. So someone asked about that. So yes, definitely at the end, I'll have a copy in these templates as well. So I'm going to keep moving on here, guys. So I'm going to share the repetition piece. This is so important. I'm going to have students do a sketch and tell like probably 25 or more times a school year. And this is September. And here's the same student in April after sharing some basic things. Here, they copied and pasted a picture. They told me hi like a typical 7th grader would or 8th grader would. And then here, I showed them Control D, how to add color, how to do a few things, and now they just run with it. Here's another student that made one on Newton and kind of explained Isaac Newton's importance to our world. But a sketch and tell doesn't have to just be Google Shapes. This student used images, but added their own take to it in Google Shapes. And like some people look at this and they think it took this girl like 30 minutes to make this. It actually took her like 10 minutes because I showed her how to duplicate shapes and duplicate stuff. And so that was on feudalism. Another student did one on Muslim innovations. And I like to give Oreos with students, and I do a lesson where I put Oreos into a mystery box. I give hints to it. And then I ask them, hey, why do you think, once they guess what the mystery box item is, it's Oreos. I ask them, why do you think I thought of Oreos with federalism? And I give them an Oreo and I say, all right, cool. Show me federalism with an Oreo. So sketch and tell goes beyond Google Shapes. You can use food. Here's a gallery walk that we did with federalism. And now you get all these different things. Students interpreting federalism in their own way with an Oreo. And so there's that. Here's one with gummy bears and popular sovereignty. And then here's one with Legos. If anyone has Legos, use them. I love Legos. I have 3 gigantic bins of Legos in my classroom. And they were all donated to me. So that was pretty cool, pretty nice of people to do that. But use Legos, great for build and tell, as we call it. Here's one with Play-Doh during remote learning a couple years ago. I just said, choose an invention that changed the world and create it, tell about it. And he actually apologized for using a knife. And I'm like, dude, it's fine. You're at home. I don't care if you use a knife. Just don't bring it to school. So there's that. My buddy Scott, my co-author Scott, uses sketch and tell for notes. He had his students read. So he said, you have 30 minutes to complete this, 10 minutes to explain your choices to a thought partner. So he gets his students talking. And they went through these different ideologies, socialism and communism. And so like his students get it. Scott teaches AP social studies, by the way, obviously at the high school level. I cover the middle school stuff. Fascism. And so there's many different ways you can use a sketch and tell. And so hopefully this kind of generated some ideas for you. Different things you can do with sketch and tell. And so what does this look like in one class period? I like to kind of sum it all up with this. And so this is my enlightenment lesson that I shared earlier with the 2 quizzes pictures. So this is what I did in one class period to teach the Enlightenment and natural rights, republicanism, social contract. We did a fast and curious, and the students got a 54%. We did a paraphrasing activity with Pear Deck called Parafly. Students were paraphrasing in real time. I'm giving feedback in real time on their paraphrases, and we paraphrase social contract, natural rights, republicanism, and then we did a sketch and tell. And then we came back and we got a 92%. So for anyone that wants to know, like, what does this look like in a class? How can you piece these together? This is one way you can do that. There are endless ways you can rack and stack protocols together. I just experiment all the time to see what I get the most, like what combinations I use to get the most out of student learning. This is clearly one of them. I like to pair a fast and curious with a frayer and a cyber sandwich. I get the most out of student learning like that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come back and we're going to do that GIM kit again. Now we got a 57% on. And here it is. Join in again. But now I gave you less time, 2 minutes. And we'll see if we can answer more questions and get a higher than 57%. Hopefully we can get higher than 57%. I'll check this chat out as you guys are signing in. Someone asked me, how do I deal with misconceptions when they arise? Could you elaborate a bit more on that? Oh yeah, someone says I have that one student who deletes the other student's work. How do I look to see who did it? So yes, if I were to show you guys that, I know Amanda answered it, but if you guys go here, you can open the version history and I could see, now it's not perfect, I will say that, but you never tell the students that. It's not perfect, but you can see who edited the slides and who changed what. And usually if you catch a student the first time you do this and you address it right then and there, takes care of itself, rest of the school year. And so I do stuff like this with my 8th graders all the time, and I don't have any issues. But yeah, if you, whoever asked about misconceptions, if you want to clarify that, go for it. I'm going to go ahead and start the game. And again, it's less time, but it's the same questions. And our goal is to get higher score. Oh, okay. So someone asked if their sketch and tell is completely wrong. That's where, like, I constantly walk around the classroom and I'm constantly asking questions. I try to catch that stuff before it happens. And the other thing is, like for example, we wrote paragraphs yesterday on the Louisiana Purchase. And so I went through every paragraph and gave over 100 students feedback using Moat audio feedback. And so I was able to catch some misconceptions in my feedback. So I try to catch it as I'm walking around the room. I try to catch it as in looking and giving feedback to students constantly, because again, that's a big part of my class. So I don't always catch it. I'm not 100% effective, but I certainly try. So hopefully that answers your question. And that's what I love about protocols. Again, we're up, we're walking, we're talking, we're having conversations with students, building relationships with students in the process. All right, 20 seconds left. How many questions did we answer last time? I know we have 10 less people, so I'm not expecting us to answer more questions because we have 10 less people in this GIM kit than we did the last one. but you guys will see that we'll probably have a higher average. All right. There we go. Nice job, Nick. And then we view the report. And so, man, maybe we answer more questions. I don't know. Hold on. So what is that? 2, 7. So we answered 572 questions, and now, but think about this though, like with 10 less people, we answered 572 questions and we answered over 500 questions, and now we have a 90% class average, all within, you see, we started this at 8, all within like the last like 45 minutes of doing this. And so we're learning something, we're building confidence, we're creating buy-in, and having some fun in the process. So it's, you know, like I said, all these things that I have shared is you can do this stuff next day. You can do one thing at a time. You can do it all at a time. But this is what I would do next. So I walked you guys through today a thin slide, fast and curious, and a sketch and tell. And you guys saw the power of that. We went from a 57 to a 90%. But how will I build on this tomorrow? I'm going to start off class with that same fast and curious. If there are still some questions that we're not quite getting, I might throw a Frayer model in there and just have the students do quick 5-minute Frayer. Look up this word, look up this person. But then I'm going to pair it up with a cyber sandwich. Let's take an abolitionist. Let's take something that I'm trying to teach about New Richmond and build on that. And so I might do a cyber sandwich. And what does that look like? It's 2 students, and I'm not going to have us do this. This is just the last thing I kind of wrap up with. So I'm just giving you guys an idea of like what goes through my mind when I plan stuff and do stuff. So a cyber sandwich is 2 students, 5 slides. I give them 1 source. So I'll find a reading on a specific abolitionist from what we just read in the sketch and tell. But the students read for 10 minutes. They take notes. They talk about and compare their notes, and then they write about it. And I'll do a cyber sandwich probably 20 or more times a school year. And so this is what I do. This quick rundown: 10-minute read and notes on a cyber sandwich, 5 to 10-minute compare. And this is, students like to copy and paste their notes. And what I started doing this year to cut down on that, I tell them to choose what are the 4 most important things for you to answer your question. Choose the 4 most important notes or facts that you put down. After they discuss, I do a new thing now where I have them reflect, and I use it for direct teaching. I give them 3 categories: a bazinga, share 1 amazing fact. I'll just go right around the room and have them talk and present right from their desk. Share 1 amazing fact, something that wowed you. Share 3 facts, just basic things that you learn, or what's a question that you have. And then we finish with a 10-minute summary. And I focus on topic sentences, transition statements, details, conclusions, things like that. So you can use this with primary sources, solving math problems if you want, do multiple summaries during the week to build an essay. The options are endless here. And so here's some examples. So this one I said, describe the election of 1828. How did Andrew Jackson become our 7th president? And so they took notes. Sometimes I leave the note-taking open-ended. I'll usually link the reading at the top, or I'll have a physical copy. And there's student 2. Here I had them choose their 4 most important facts, and then, hey, we both found something. So then they put it in the middle, they compare, and now we're writing. And then we're writing here. But and then here's one. I put together 7 different repetitions from 1 student this year of where we started. So here's our first rep, where we started at the beginning of the year, 4th, 5th, 6th, and now here's our 7th rep. And these students are getting better. And I like to share that because I think that's a pretty powerful thing to look at right there. That's the feedback, the repetition. We're learning how to write. And like I said, that's what I've been focused on this year. I'm going to teach kids how to write. Here's some other things that you guys can do. And I'm just sharing these to give you ideas of how you can structure the notes. You can leave them open-ended, or you can, this was with 6th graders. I structured the note taking. Here are 3 categories. Put your notes in these 3 categories. And then at the very end, they were able to take their notes and apply it in different ways. Here's another one they did. I call this a main idea note-taking strategy. I have them rewrite the heading of the article as a question. I have them list out who, when, where, what, why. So in this particular one, I had student 1 taking notes while student 2 read to student 1. So they had to read out loud and listen. But then student 1 then read out loud while student 2 took notes. And that way they're working on reading and listening, note taking, and then the discussion is kind of natural. They help each other fill in the notes. And surprisingly, 8th grade students, 7th grade students love doing that. So that's something I do with my classes as well. And so I'm left with this now. I had a student say this to me. He said, Mr. Mueller, I really like your class. I'm like, oh, cool. Why? And he goes, you're just a great teacher. And I went, well, why? Because I know how 8th graders are. He goes, you're just a really good person. I went, dude, just tell me why. And he said, because we actually do stuff in here. We create stuff, we learn in this class. And I was an 8th grade student. That was back in October. And I added this recently to this slide because I had a student teacher last year who just texted me 2 weeks ago. This is what he texted me. He said student quotes that he gets a lot from his kids. And he didn't know that this kid said this. And they're very similar. They said, Mr. Rudd, your class is different because we always create things. I just can't Google the answers in your class. I like how your class is simple and easy as long as we do the task and take the quizzes, because then I have what I need later for tests and stuff. And then they said, Mr. Rudd, I like how we do the same type of things because I feel like I know what to do on the assignments. And that's the other powerful piece of the repetition. So, you know, it's the same or similar stuff all the time with people that run protocols on a consistent basis. This is common right here. And yes, your IEP students, your ELL students, they're gonna, feel the same way. Here's my friend Jamie, who from California, talks about collaborating and students communicating quite a bit. My friend Jacob Carr, he points out that the predictability of EduProtocols is what is great for students. They know what to do. They know they are doing the right thing because they're focused on the content. My friend Robert Mayfield teaches AP Human Geography. They asked him, hey, can you teach AP Human Geography? He's like, yeah, I can do it. And he runs strictly protocols in his class. He doesn't take home stuff to grade. He grades it all in class, and his AP students scored at a 71.2%, and the California average is 54%. And so he's knocking it out of the park. And then this is me, obviously, again. So follow me on Twitter if you don't follow me. Check out my blog. I reflect weekly. Feel free to send me an email. I just show people my blog because, it's call it the week that was. And then I basically go through how I kind of structure my week, why I structure my week the way that I do. I have all the stuff that I do kind of linked in there, and I freely share everything. So feel free to check that out. Feel free to send me an email. I'm always happy to respond to everybody. And if anybody wants the templates that I shared today, they are there. And then for a copy of this presentation, actually, you know what? Don't do that because I need to change this. Actually, I'm going to change that right now. But if anybody has questions, let me know. I'm going to change the link to this presentation real quick. And And I'm going to make that a bit.ly link.
Sounds like a lot of people are going to be using these resources tomorrow and
Cool.
strategies based on the chat.
And hopefully that was great for everybody. And again, my goal was to, if you're new to this, you could take something away from it. And here you go. And if you're kind of a veteran, maybe you took away a new idea that you could try tomorrow. Maybe something wasn't working for you, but now you have something. But yeah, I can go through the chat here. See here. And then, yeah, so again, thanks everybody for joining tonight. This is, I love doing stuff like this. So this is great. Oh yeah, you know what? I should just throw the link to it in the chat. That was, I don't know, it's kind of dumb of me to do that, not to do that. So hold on here. Yeah, crap.
A lot of raves on the PD, Adam. Good job. Awesome job.
Cool. There we go. So there's a link to it. So check it out. Everything's there. All the templates are there. And yeah, so with that, I'm done. So
Thank you so much. It was awesome. Really appreciate it.
how long did I go? Oh, that's not bad. We went, what, like an hour? That's cool.
Yeah. Fast and furious.
Yeah, man. So, all right, I'll stop sharing now.